Wow.
Sure.
Sure, exactly what's happening over here. Okay. Fine. Yeah, not sure what happened. We're holding here that Chaf Vav Amud Beis 25. No, it's not sharing. Let me share the Gemara on the screen. That should be better. Chaf Vav Amud Beis. We have a different device, hopefully better sound. Tanur Rabbanan, our sages have taught. We did a little bit of this on Thursday, but we're going to have just a little review for those who miss it, but we won't go too deep. And this part we'll explain more in the next part. Tanur Rabbanan, if you have a Gemara art scroll, it's on 26b2. Tashmishe mitzvah nizrakin. Objects that are used for the performance of a mitzvah may be discarded since there's no kedusha attached to that. For example, shliach of a sukkah. We said the story of the Chaim Pfeffer. Although he would not accept a student to the yeshiva who, although was academically a very advanced, still he would not accept him because he saw from the window that the student, when he came for his test to be accepted to his yeshiva, he walked over shliach that was laying on the ground that was used for the sukkah, and he did not accept him to his yeshiva. However, shliach itself can be thrown out. It's an object used for a mitzvah. Tashmish kedusha nignazim. Objects that are accessories to kedusha, something which has Hashem's name, that cannot be thrown out, cannot be discarded. Rather, it must be hidden in a safe place, either buried in the ground, either put in the attic of a shul. Many shul had a genizas, put it in a chimney, put away somewhere. But it does not have to actually be buried. Several years ago, there was, you could say, people thought it was a scandal that they found much Shaimos that was just sitting in trucks, sitting in big trailers in a field, and people came upon it and saw it was Shaimos inside, and they said, "You're taking our money for taking Shaimos and putting it away." But actually, it was under Hashgacha of a Rav, and there's no issue with that. To have it sitting in a place where it's respectful, as long as it's not being thrown away. What they did find in other places that there were some unscrupulous people who were doing Shaimos services, which were putting it into landfills. So that is, of course, you cannot do. That's called nizrakin, throwing it out. Mitzvah. Here are examples of things which are used for a mitzvah. Oh, shalom aleichem. You have your Gemara. You have your. Here are objects of a mitzvah. Sukkah. A sukkah is an object that's used for a mitzvah, which after it's used, it does not have any sanctity. And if you're finished with your old sukkah, you're allowed to throw it out. The walls and even the sach. Lulav as well. You don't have to dispose of it. In Shaimos or Geniza, many people burn it on Erev Sukkos. Shofar. Your shofar itself on Rosh Hashanah itself, it's holy. After Rosh Hashanah, it's allowed to be discarded. Of course, many people put it away in a respectful way. Tzitzis, which is a talis katan, a small talis, also has the same idea. You can walk with it into a bathroom. A talis gadol, a large talis, that is a different kedusha. That you have to take off before walking into a bathroom. But tzitzis, the small one, talis katan, that you could wear when you walk into a bathroom. These are called tashmishe mitzvah. Objects of a mitzvah which do not have inherent holiness.
I think I was told that it was in talis gadol.
the winter time, if you're wearing your coat on top of it,
Mhm.
then you could go in.
Yeah, I know in New York City, there's a sort of gemach. Take your old talis, donate it to the Chaver Kadisha, and they use it for people which don't have their own talis.
Bro, that's different. No, if you have to go to the bathroom, urinate.
Yeah.
The Gailim,
Oh, same for Ketanim. Ketanim is not really considered going to the bathroom as long as you don't touch over there.
Right.
You're even allowed to wear tefillin shel yad
Right.
while you're eating a bagel and doing Ketanim.
with no yarmulke.
With no yarmulke, correct. Eluain tashmish kedusha. These are objects which are accessories to kedusha, which have Hashem's name. So although the object themselves does not have Hashem's name, these are accessories to things which have Hashem's name. Ve'eluain gluskimi. These are sacks for Svarim. These are things which are Svarim come inside, which are Sifra Torah, usually the mantle around it. Svarim, of course, books itself, which have Hashem's name, and not just a written Torah, a written tefillin, but even the Sefer, which is printed, also has sanctity and kedusha and holiness. Tefillin, mezuzahs, the object themselves, the leather of the tefillin and the mezuzah, for sure the writing, but even the object, the leather around it is things which are serving the kedusha Hashem's name, which is on the tefillin, which is on the mezuzah, and therefore they cannot be thrown away, have to be put into geniza. The tikshal sefer Torah, the case of a Torah, which is like the Sfartim have, a case that goes around the Torah scroll. The nar tikshal tefillin, a case for a tefillin. Case for a tefillin means something which is specifically for tefillin. But if I carry my tefillin, let's say, in a bag like this, and you can see I just carry it around and put my tefillin in here, this is not the bag of tefillin. Even that the bag which is around the tefillin, that's considered to be a bag just for tefillin. There are people which upgrade their tefillin bags from time to time. Usually by your wedding, you upgrade your tefillin bag. And then your 50th anniversary, I think you upgrade it again. So your tefillin bag cannot be thrown out in the regular way. The plastic bag which goes around the tefillin bag, so that's could be generally say you could dispose of it, not directly, but you put it into another bag and then you could dispose of that. And nartik shel tefillin, a case of tefillin, and the scraps of tefillin. And on Thursday we went to more detail about the scraps of tefillin, different things according to Kabbalah. Some people say that they should touch the floor for a moment. But scraps of tefillin also have kedusha, have holiness, and you cannot throw them out once you're finished with it. Amar Rava, says Rava, and we're going to have now a series of halachas regarding the topics of things that are geniza, have to go into Shaimos, or things that could be nizrakim, could be thrown away in a respectful way because it's used for a mitzvah, but could be thrown away. Amar Rava, says Rava, in the beginning, I thought that the bima, so you have a bima here in this room, which you put the Torah on when you read it in public. Some people say we don't really have this in Chabad so much, but I think this shul had it, used to have it, and many shuls have it, that there's a stand for the Torah. After someone does Hagbah, they don't hold the Torah. They put it into a Torah stand. So this is the stool of the Torah.
What's a wimple? Germans, I think they use a wimple.
A wimple?
Yeah.
I know a last name wimple, but I don't know what a wimple is.
Something that has to do with either the gargle around it or some thing that they put on top of a Sefer Torah. I can't find out what it is.
I'm not sure. A wimple?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe
The Washington Heights.
they use it around the Sefer Torah.
Yeah, the Germans use it.
It's interesting. Not sure. So I thought to myself that the karsaya, the bima, is a tashmish de tashmishu. It doesn't have inherent holiness because the bima is wooden and you cover it with something, with either a cloth, you cover it with a talus if you're using a table. So just like you have a table, until you have a minyan in the hallway because it's Shabbos before Yud Shvat, and you're making many minyanim for Kriyas Torah. So you take a regular table, a regular desk, and you spread a talus on it, and you read the Torah. Is that desk or table become kedusha, holiness? No, it's a regular table still. So he thought to himself that even the regular bima, which is used always for Torah reading, but you never put the Torah directly on it. You put the Torah on a cloth on top of it. So it's a tashmish to shashmish. It's an accessory to an accessory. We have throughout halacha is a tashmish to tashmish, or tachshit to tachshit, is an accessory of an accessory. Does it have the importance of the original item or not? For example, Shabbos, you're not allowed to carry unless it's an Erev. So you're allowed to wear clothes. So a tie is a tachshit. Tie is almost like a piece of jewelry. It's not there. You don't need it to get dressed, but it's there to make you look nice. How about a tie clip? So it's a tachshit to tachshit. It's an accessory to an accessory. And there's a big question in halacha. Is it considered to be a garment or not? If it's a garment, you can wear it on Shabbos if there's no Eruv. If there's no garment, you can't wear it. And it's back and forth. Most poskim halachically are lenient with it. So a similar thing, he says, the bima, the wood itself, is a tashmish. It's an accessory of a sacred item. And the Torah is not actually put onto the wood, it's put onto the cloth on the wood. Vishari, and therefore, I'm allowed to dispose of this bima afterwards, or I could use it for something which is non-sacred. I want to pack my shalach manas, I could do it on the bima. However, that's what I thought in the beginning. However, I've seen that there has come sometimes that they put directly the Sefer Torah onto the wood itself, and it's more common by a Sephardi Torah, which comes in a case. If it comes in the case, so then you put it directly on the wood. They don't have cloth because it's harder to open and close. So it goes directly onto the wood. Have amina, not just have amina. Now I said hashmish kedushahu. It is now an accessory of a sacred item. V'yasor, and therefore one is not permitted and is prohibited from using it for any non-sacred purposes. So that is the first halacha. We mentioned that certain Gdolei Yisrael, great Jewish leaders, they, particularly say the Stipler going to Bnei Brak and others, they had, whenever they read the Torah, they took out a second cloth and put it on top of the bima, and then they read the Torah on top of that. But because they said that if they see that if there's a surface in the shul, it gets used. People put the Sfarim on there, people learn the Gemaras on there, or people just might put their tefillin case on there. So if there's a surface in the shul, it usually gets used for other things. And they said that based on this Gemara, that it must be that you can only use it for holy purposes. And it's something which is there on the same level of sanctity, needs geniza. And therefore, they would put a second cloth, a second covering over it. Now, halacha, we don't rule like that. I think it's more midas hadin. You want to be more stringent on yourself. And the reason being is because when the bima is built to begin with, it's, even if it wasn't stipulated clearly, it's already an accepted fact that the bima will be used for something, used for other shul purposes. Other things are used in the shul. So if somebody wants to go and put their coffee down in the bima, might not be the best place to put your coffee down, but when the bima is built for the shul, it's built with having that in mind. Obviously not when the Sefer Torah is there, but if someone did that, it's not that they have desecrated it in a bad way and they have to do tshuva for, desecrating the bima, because it's built with that in mind. That said, one should respect it because, after all, this is where the Sefer Torah is read. You shouldn't, if you're in the middle of, cleaning, you shouldn't put down your cleaning supplies on the bima, cover it with a tablecloth, and then do it. V'amar Rava, and Rava says it further. Thank you, Rebbe Label, Rabbi Karp. Rebbe Label Ashran, he says, a wimple is Yiddish for cloth from German, comes from the Old German, dem wimpfen, meaning to cover up, to conceal. It's a long linen sash used to go around the Sefer Torah for the Yekka Jews. It is made from a cloth that they would use to swaddle a baby boy at the bris milah, bringing the wimple together with the bris milah, the two mitzvahs together.
A lot of people, not a lot.
Thank you.
Including myself, you know the bima, you got your saver there, sometimes you put your children on there. Is that okay?
That's fine, yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Because when the bima was built, it's built having that in mind already. It's okay, it's fine. Just
But you shouldn't put your coffee cup on there.
yeah, when it's don't, but if you did, it's also not the end of the world, but you shouldn't do that. Yeah. Next ruling by Rava. V'amar Rava, Mereish hava mina hai prisa tash mishu b'shari. In the beginning, I used to say that if you have the paroiches, the curtain which is in front of the Aron Kodesh. Now, us Ashkenazim, we have our curtain in front of the Aron Kodesh. I brought the exampls. I think they're still open the tabs. Bring it online. Here are just some of the shul, some beautiful Aron Kodeshes, and the curtains will be on the inside. Many Sfardis Aron Kodeshes have it till today. They have beautiful ornate doors and beautiful ornate, but the curtain is inside the Aron Kodesh. If it's outside the Aron Kodesh, it's not in front of the Sefer Torah. So it's not the same level of sanctity. That said, you still should put into Geniza. It's very easy to get confused. Oh, you're allowed to throw this out. Oh, that's okay. That's not okay. But if it's we're talking about right now, if it's inside the Aron Kodesh and it's directly covering the Sefer Torahs. So I thought to myself, the curtain is there to adorn the Aron Kodesh, and Aron Kodesh is there to protect the Sefer Torah, and the Sefer Torah is surrounded by itself a cover. So I would have thought that it's a sort of an accessory of an accessory. However, I realize that there's some times that they use the paroiches, the curtain, to wrap the Sefer Torah in. Sometimes they use it to put it under the Torah, but they sometimes use a curtain with the Torah itself. Amina tashmish kedusha. Now it became an accessory of kedusha, of holiness, and therefore it became prohibited from using it. We see a very interesting thing. To become kedusha, to become holy, you don't have to do it every day. Even if periodically, from time to time, it's used for kedusha, holiness, the status changes.
What's this? What are you talking about now? You don't have to do every day.
The curtain, the paroiches, is not used every day for the Sefer Torah, only periodically. The bima is not used all the time, only once in a while. That still gives us a status of becoming tashmish kedusha, becoming holiness. It changes your status because it shows who it really was the entire time. There's a story of a chassid of, I think, the Rebbe Hershel, that used to always come to the Rebbe Hershel dressed up as a chassid, but he would go in his own city where he lived. He was a businessman. He'd go out in the world, and he didn't dress with a long coat of a chassid or with the hat of a chassid. And one time he told himself, "Who am I fooling? I'm going to the Rebbe trying to pretend like I'm really dressed like a chassid. Let me come dressed the way I really was, where I really am." And the next time he came to the Rebbe Hershel, the way he was, and the Rebbe Hershel asked him, what happened? You look different this time. And he told him, this is the way I dress every day, and I don't want to, be insincere and be like this. The Rebbe Hershel told him, of course I knew that's the way you dress on a day-to-day basis. What I always thought was that you're fooling the rest of the world. You're the chassid, the way you are over here. And when you go outside, you act like them. But now I see it was the other way around. Really, you're acting one of them. When you come here, you're just trying to blend in and act like a chassid. So here you see clearly that if something is used just periodically, not all the time for kedusha, it already gives it the status. Once it's used once in a while, it shows the true colors who it really is. Rava, we have time for another one. 26b3. If you have the art scroll, we turn the page. Mereish Havamina. In the beginning, I assumed. Hi tevusa, the ear pat. If you have a Aron Kodesh, which fell apart, now it's broken. May of the teva zutrasi shari. So I can take all the scraps of wood and make a smaller Aron Kodesh out of it, because at the end of the day, you're making another Aron Kodesh. You're making a housing for a Torah scroll. Kursaya Asir. But I can't do anything which is less holy than Aron Kodesh. I can't take it and build a bima. That's what I thought, because a bima does not house the Aron Kodesh, does not house the Sefer Torah. The Torah, the Aron Kodesh holds the Sefer Torah constantly. The bima holds the Aron Kodesh once in a while. So I thought the fact that it does it once in a while makes it a lesser level of sanctity. And halacha, it goes throughout the poskim. Now, if you had something that was used as an Aron Kodesh, you can't use it to become a coat closet. But if you had something used as Aron Kodesh and it was made a Tanai condition to begin with, there's room for it to be used as something else. For example, a bookcase for Sfarim. I know certain Chabad houses where they first started off their Chabad house and they got a fancy like a dresser, a tall dresser for their Aron Kodesh, and they made a curtain in front of it. And later on, when the Chabad house Baruch Hashem grew and expanded, and they built a proper shul, and they have a nice Aron Kodesh, and the old Aron Kodesh, they took it and they used it as a bookcase for Sidurim in the shul. That used to be the Aron Kodesh, but now it's used for Svarim, for Sidurim, for Svarim. And the reason why it's done like that is because it was in the beginning when it was made as Aron Kodesh, it was also said that in case we get a better Aron Kodesh, we're going to repurpose this current one. And that would be permitted. However, a Aron Kodesh cannot be used for something of other value. For example, many tzaddikim, they take, when they pass away, they have the desk that the tzaddik sat and study Torah on, and or the bench, and they use it for the aron, for the coffin of the tzaddik. By the Rebbe, they used one of the tables that he had in his Yechidus room. So they take a table where they sat and learned, or either the Yechidus table or a different table, and they use it for, and they say the wood of the coffin should be testimony that the tzaddik always learned and always davened and always used his time. We only do it for very, very great people. The average person, we don't want the piece of wood coming with you testifying everything else he did while you're while you're there. But an Aron Kodesh cannot be used for an Aron, for an ark.
For an ark? That's what it is.
For a Aron. Okay, Aron, coffin. Yeah. So an Aron Kodesh cannot be used for a coffin. We're going to continue now with. Let me just bring on my kids. Sure.
Things were accessory, like the lula and the sukkah, but then it mentions shofar too. How is the shofar? Something you use every year.
He's saying the shofar feels holier than a lulav and esrog. It's used for a mitzvah. Schach is also used. The mitzvah is not the walls of the sukkah. The mitzvah is the schach. The walls of a sukkah, and you go to Brooklyn. I've seen them.
The schach kind of dries up, in the same way the lulav and esrog. But the shofar, it seems to be more
kedusha. Definitely.
The sounds that come out of it,
And you're able to crown Hashem as king. Definitely true sensitivity. But it's very interesting. You would think like a shofar, such a holy object, should be made by a God-fearing Jew, and that's where you buy your shofars from. And it happened about 6 or 7 years ago. The IDF started sourcing all their shofars from China. They wanted to save money. And the chief rabbinate said it's kosher, it's fine. So it doesn't have to be made by a Jewish person. It doesn't have to, as long as it's a ram's horn, it's kosher. I don't know, what?
You can't buy Shabbos candles now that aren't made in China.
And many of our sfarm that we have nowadays are printed there too.
Written in China.
It's in China or Indonesia, and then they come over.
But yet the straps of the children are used for rituals, but
I think the Japs used to make tefillin and mezuzahs from vinyl.
From what?
From vinyl.
From vinyl?
Yeah, it was perfect. They never wore out. They printed by machinery. They look exactly like, they were very good in the process of making the vinyl look like leather, like cloth. You couldn't a real sight, you could tell, but
Yes.
the average layman could not tell.
No, it's important that when you buy a sefer, a tefillin, mezuzahs, it's very important that you make sure to buy it only from someone that you know who actually wrote it, not just a large store. Because there's been especially more recent times with the world becoming so small, many things which have gone wrong. There was a story that happened this past year, literally a few months ago. There was someone from Ukraine who was a Baal Sheva and was a Sefer. Unfortunately, he became, how do you say, un-Baal Sheva, married a non-Jew, lived in a small village somewhere in Ukraine. And he decided to write mezuzahs because he knew how to write mezuzahs. He learned how to become a sefer previously. And it was found out that there were, some Judaica stores that were selling mezuzahs written by this person. So it's very important to know whose actual sefer who wrote the mezuzah and the tefillin is, not just to buy it from a large Judaica store. Right. We'll do a few halachas over here in Hilchas Shabbos, and then afterwards we'll pause for today. We'll continue Mitzvah Hashem tomorrow. So we're holding in Siman Ayin Beis, number 72. This is how to prepare for Shabbos. That's the gist of number 72. We'll do a few halachas, and the Alter Rebbe adds on different things. We'll bring in the Alter Rebbe whenever the Alter Rebbe or Chabad has something different to say. Shabbos Kodesh. Shabbos is a great sign and covenant that Hashem has given to us, a Jewish nation. Ladas, to know. Ki b'sheshes yamim asa Hashem s'shmayim v'sa'aretz v'chol asher behem v'shabbos v'yom hashvi'i. To know that Hashem created the world in 6 days, rested on the seventh day. Hu yesod hemuna. Shabbos is one of the basics of belief. Amar Zal shkula Shabbos chol mitzvahs. Shabbos is equal to all the mitzvahs. There is guarding Shabbos and keeping Shabbos. Now we're going from baby step 1, baby step 2, baby step 3. Baby step 1, guarding Shabbos. Make sure that Shabbos is not desecrated. It's a holy day. It says you desecrate Shabbos, it's like one who does not believe in the entire Torah. As Ezra says that Hashem gave us a Shabbos for us to know Him. It says you made it known to them, but you made yourself, Alter Rebbe explains, to be known through keeping Shabbos. And to properly understand Yiddishkeit, it's not really possible without properly keeping Shabbos first. If someone transgresses Shabbos, he is like a non-Jew, Alter Rebbe adds on, except for when it comes to Kiddushin, getting married. If someone who is Mechal Shabbos for Hesed marries a woman, he's not a guy, he's not a non-Jew when it comes to that. A marriage is valid.
Would we be allowed to give him actually non-kosher food to eat? No. I mean, as far as himself,
You're saying is he a goy in that sense? No, I don't think you'd be allowed to give non-kosher
That's
food.
it.
But it would be a guy in the sense that you wouldn't, if he touches wine,
Mhm.
then the wine, it can't be used for kiddush and things like that.
Mhm.
Negei b'yayin oisrei, v'pas shehu oifer kumei pas nachri, and if he writes you tefillin and mezuzahs, you won't be able to use it. And the bread, if he bakes bread, it's not pas Yisrael. And if he cooks, it's also not considered to be Bishul Yisrael. Now, b'diavad, in the case of great loss, there's Rabbanim who paskin in different ways, who rule different ways. That nowadays, a Mechal Shabbos for Hesi has someone who transgresses Shabbos publicly has a different type of status. Although, our Rebbe, of course, would speak in the greatest terms of this. However, the Rebbe would bring up, and in public as well, people would transgress Shabbos. For example, the Rebbe brought up about, speaking about, with a lot of pain many different times, not just one, not just 10, not just a dozen, but many, many hundreds of times when the Rebbe spoke about the situation in Eretz Yisrael and Israel and the Israeli government. And the Rebbe was always consistent, where the biggest problem in Eretz Yisrael is that they are trying to make themselves feel equal or feel worthy in the eyes of the nations of the world, the eyes of the Jews. They don't have the pride that we're Jewish, we're a special, unique nation that Hashem has set aside. And therefore, all the problems from A to B to C all comes from that. And there was a certain example that Rebbe brought then. It was connecting it with the Soviet Jewry, that there was a big meeting of Jewish organizations, and it took place, Rebbe says, Leil Shabbos took place Friday night. And they brought in, and they're trying to raise money for Eretz Yisrael, for Israel, and for Soviet Jews also. And they brought in a representative from Eretz Yisrael, from the Holy Land, to American Jews. So you have all these different organizations, and you have the Zionist representative. And in the middle of making his appeal in the meeting, and it's going on a long time, he takes out a cigarette and starts smoking on Friday night in Shabbos. Now, the Rebbe says, this is the representative of Eretz Yisrael, of the Holy Land. So on Shabbos, in front of everybody, in front of all your representatives, you're trying to raise money for a Jewish land. What's a Jewish land all about? What do we need it for? For Yiddishkeit. What makes us Jewish? Besides our ethnicity, what's so unique about that? Because based on a Torah we come from, and that's what binds us together, our neshamas. And therefore, trying to raise money for Eretz Yisrael by smoking in public in Shabbos at a meeting of only Jewish people, to show how you're so comfortable, so that even when you're not among a non-Jewish crowd, still you have to make yourself show how I could blend in better than everybody else, blend in with the best. So the Rebbe says, none of the American people, meaning the non-Eretz Yisrael people, took out a cigarette to smoke. They felt maybe it's Shabbos, maybe we're at a Jewish meeting, but it was specifically the representative from Eretz Yisrael. So this is the idea of parhesia. So true, the Rebbe would, like the Levi Yitzchak of Erditchev, would always find something favorable to say about every single situation. However, it's also important to know that you have to also call it out when it's appropriate. As long, even if it's well known, then it's considered to be transgressing Shabbos in public. And the proof that he brings is from Esther. It says Esther was, how could Esther be married to Achashverosh? And he said, so the first answer given in the Gemara is that she was coerced. But the Gemara says, ask, but it's in public. And if you're coerced to transgress a Torah in public, you have to, you're not allowed to transgress it. And the Gemara gives another answer. How? Esther was never, it was always in private, right? When Esther was actually doing any married type of acts with Achashverosh, it was in private. So what we see from there, parhesia, public doesn't mean that it's done in public. It means that the public knows about it. So even if it wasn't done in front of people, everyone else knows about it. So then that is also considered to be parhesia. So with this, we will pause for today. And stop the share.